Hello and welcome to another episode of the Smaulgld speculation series. Today we're going to talk about what do Christine Lagarde's comments yesterday at the Bank of England regarding cryptocurrencies and the future of central banking mean. So yesterday, IMF head Lagarde touted cryptocurrencies. Speaking at the Bank of England, she touted the advantages of cryptocurrencies. We're going to go through some of the ones she mentioned. She urged policymakers not to dismiss virtual currencies as they may give existing currencies and monetary policy a run for their money. She also hinted that the SDR may have an interesting future life, and she suggested, this is part of the speculation, that digital currencies could potentially join the SDR in the future. And she opined as to whether monetary policy will survive the advent of digital currencies. And then she issued a very surprising warning about globalization. Let's get to her speech. So yesterday, IMF Managing Director Christine Lagarde gave a speech at the Bank of England. It was called Central Banking and FinTech, Brave New World. And in that speech, she went through the advantages of cryptocurrencies. She talked about no clearing delays, low transaction fees, especially for these small and frequent payments, the ease of peer-to-peer and cross-border transactions. And she mentioned that these are very important in the new decentralized service economy. And as such, she can foresee a day when citizens might prefer digital virtual currencies over fiat currencies as easier and safer alternatives to paper bills. So it's that whole we're better off without physical cash. And then she gave examples whereby small countries with weak institutions and unstable national currencies might adopt cryptocurrencies over their own currencies. She didn't say they might adopt cryptocurrencies over the established fiat currency. She said, well, they might adopt them in the small countries with the weak institutions. Much in the way, she noted, the citizens of the Seychelles adopted US dollars instead of their own currencies. She has something to say about Bitcoin. Lagarde, don't diss Bitcoin. She said, Bitcoin currently poses no threat to fiat or central banks because it's too volatile, too risky, too energy intensive, and the underlying technologies are not yet scalable. She went on to say it's hard to regulate and has been hacked. She noted, however, that one day digital currencies may become more stable and concluded, so I don't think it would be wise to dismiss virtual currencies. Virtual currencies might just give existing currencies and monetary policy a run for their money. Now, she said that if virtual currencies, however, remain risky and unstable, that the citizens might, quote, call on central banks to provide digital forms of legal tender. In other words, she's saying that the citizens might demand to go cashless and get a central bank digital currency, especially if these private currencies don't do the trick. This has echoes of what the Fed was saying, or what the head of the German Bundesbank was saying regarding their plan to disrupt or stop cryptocurrencies. They just need to create their own faster payments. Now, in the Q&A section afterwards, Ms. Lagarde was asked if private digital currencies may make monetary policy disappear. I'm not going to read you her answer because it doesn't make much sense. But she finally said, but going forward, who will set the price of money? Who will assess time? Because that's really what it boils down to. I contend that we will still need monetary policy, but the future will tell. She did not say emphatically that there will be a monetary policy in the future. So she was wise not to come right out and say, of course. She does recognize the threat that cryptocurrencies, digitization, decentralization have on monetary policy. Now, Ms. Lagarde's positive comments about cryptocurrencies are in stark contrast to JP Morgan head Jamie Dimon, who recently called Bitcoin a fraud. So as we go through more, we'll see more about what she says about cryptocurrencies. She seems to be a lot more receptive to them, just as Ben Bernanke once said that cryptocurrencies hold promise. So we do see somewhat of a split. We saw the head of Morgan Stanley speak positively about cryptocurrencies. So there is somewhat of a split amongst the establishment regarding cryptocurrencies and indeed Bitcoin. Now, there was an article in Reuters, and some people pointed to it as evidence that Miss Lagarde said that Bitcoin will one day be in the SDR. You sometimes get these types of people reading into stories. So I dug deeper. I read this speech. I watched this speech because she did deviate from what she wrote, and I listened to the QA. So let me tell you what I found. So Reuters says that with respect to the SDR, she said, quote, digital currencies could potentially join it in the future. I didn't hear her say exactly digital currencies could join it in the future. Now, this led people to speculate that Bitcoin could be added to the SDR in the future. Here's the text of the remarks of what she said in this speech. But the fund will also have to be open to change, from bringing new parties to the table to considering a role for the digital version of the SDR. Okay, that doesn't say anything about joining the SDR. However, what she actually said was the SDR, invented a few decades ago, might have a future interesting life if we include a digital dimension and some new technologies to it, particularly at a time when a threat to existing networks are in the air. So, not sure what that means. An interesting life if we include a digital dimension. Well, a digital dimension could just be put in the SDR on a distributed ledger platform, which has been discussed, and add some new technologies to it. Does that mean adding a cryptocurrency to it? I don't know. Let me know what you think. I'm not sure what that means. Well, they got a little further into it in the Q&A section. And a woman asked, in the original version of Keynes and Bretton Woods, they thought the SDR would play a much bigger role in the international monetary system. I don't know what she meant by that, because the SDR wasn't invented until 1969. But in any event, she said, do you think the digital age creates an opportunity to rethink the role of the SDR as an international currency? Here again, Ms. Lagarde dances around the topics, talks in generalities. This is what she said. It's been around a long time. There had been high expectations. There was a pickup after the RMB was included in the basket of currencies. Has it been a massive pickup? No. I think that the digital platform and the distributed ledger technologies can actually facilitate something that would otherwise be something of political nature. I think if the two were to come together, the digital acceleration and facilitation and the geopolitical situation that would be propitious to relying on an alternative basket of currencies that would not be a substitute for existing international currencies. We would need the two together. It's not a far-fetched hypothetical, and I believe the fund, we have to be ready for that should the circumstance arise that would facilitate the whole process. Not exactly the most articulate answer. I think what she's saying is that you can have the SDR on a distributed ledger or on a blockchain, and that if it made sense to have an alternative basket of currencies, you could have it, but it wouldn't be a substitute for existing currencies. So she's talking, it sounds like the SDR in general, and then about technology in the SDR, but I don't think she gave a definitive answer. That she didn't say, and we're looking at adding the SDR to the, or adding Bitcoin to the SDR. I didn't see anything that indicated that. She's talking about technologies in general, whether they apply to how the SDR is traded. I'm not sure what you can read the language too. I've tried to find as much as what she said by reading the text of her remarks, by listening to her remarks, and then listening to the QA. But here's what I found is perhaps the most interesting part of this speech. Let me read to you what she said. Now, this was not in the text of her speech. This she said at the end. It was not following the script. Yes, I could have talked to you about cybersecurity and the challenges of hacking and the financing of terrorism and the hiding places that are made available. What she's saying is, I could have come up here and warned you about cryptocurrencies. I could have come up here and told you how evil Bitcoin was. But instead, as we noted above, she talked about the advantages. She said, I could have talked to you about hacking and terrorism and hiding places. She said, but I believe that we as individuals and communities have the capacity to shape technological and economic futures that work for all. She's got the utopian point of view. And this is what I found the most. At the end, she then says, I like to pause for a second here. We go around beating our chests, reminding ourselves when globalization was up and rising, and she had her fist in the air. And the story of the day, we forgot a little about the fact that it had to benefit all. Let's not make the same mistake again. And she's talking about digitization, cryptocurrencies. As difficult as it is, and as jargonic as it sounds, and as technical as it certainly is, let us make sure that these new technologies and the way they disrupt and transform will actually work for all and not for just a few. Failing which, in 2050, we may be very sorry that we have not reminded ourselves of that imperative. Very interesting indeed, because here she's saying it sounds like these technologies, cryptocurrencies, have been invented for the benefit of all. And yes, Carney, before he introduced her, he's the governor of the Bank of England, and she also mentioned how they want to harness these technologies, but it sounds like they don't want to completely co-opt them. And she mentioned failing, if we don't make sure the technologies work for all, or instead, meaning we just take over as central banks and create our own blockchain that benefits us and our maintenance of power, reading into this, and our ability to conduct monetary policy, we might be very sorry that we have not reminded ourselves of that imperative. If you want to watch her speech, it is indeed online. I think the time I watched, only about 550 people had done so. So you can go ahead and check it out there. I think I started it, the link there, I think starts at where she begins to speak. So here's the question for the speculation. One, will the IMF put the SDR on a digital platform? I don't really even see how that's speculation. That's probably going to happen. Will the IMF add digital assets like Bitcoin to the SDR? I'd like to hear your thoughts on. And the next one is, what did Christine Lagarde mean by her closing comments? Who knows? Let me know what you think. And then here's I did a chart here. This is the weighting of the SDRs. And you can see this is a basket of currencies. They're not actually currencies in the SDR. They're just represented. And then the IMF creates the SDR, gives it to the IMF 189 members based on their size. And it represents, but is not backed by, the dollar, the euro, the yen, the pound, and the Chinese yuan. And here in 2015, you could see is when they added the yuan, but it didn't actually go into effect until October 2016. But that's their position there. And you could see the dollar is the dominant portion of the SDR, but it is not an absolute majority. And the euro got knocked down when they added in the yuan. So is there room for Bitcoin or other cryptocurrencies in the SDR? Let me know what you think below, either in the BitChute or the VidMe or the Smaulgld.com or the YouTube comments section below. And if you like this, please consider donating to Smaulgld via PayPal, via Bitcoin, via Litecoin, or becoming a Smaulgld patron. You could do that on the site or below in the comments section or below the YouTube. And also please consider visiting our affiliates that sell precious metals. It's not an investment advice to buy precious metals, but we do have at least 4 precious metals dealers that you can compare pricing and shipping. And if you do buy, Smaulgld gets a small commission. They are BGSC, Golden Eagle Coin, SD Bullion, and Money Metals Exchange. And if you do purchase through the affiliate links, you pay no more no less than if you visited Smaulgld directly. But Smaulgld does get a small commission. Thank you very much for listening. Also, if you're interested in checking out cryptocurrencies and purchasing them for yourself, again, not investment advice, you can do so through Coinbase is one of them, and Smaulgld has an affiliate relationship there. And you can sign up for an account, and if you buy $100 worth of Bitcoin, you will get $10 worth of free Bitcoin from Coinbase, and Smaulgld will also be credited with $10 worth of Bitcoin. Again, not investment advice that you buy Bitcoin, but if you're going to do so and you've done your research, you can do so through the Coinbase platform. You can also buy on Coinbase Ethereum and Litecoin. Well, thank you very much for listening.